Welcome everyone to the referee portion of the components seminar. We will be discussing the initial judges meeting, the roundtable discussion, and other pertinent information that will help you as referees in your journey to lead your panels for a wonderful discussion, hopefully good learning between your colleagues, and everyone will leave the competition feeling they have learned more and they have had clarity and direction and good summary for the referees. To begin, I want to discuss with you just some general ideas. First, it's very important when you arrive at a competition to determine how much time you will have. When you do an initial judges meeting or a pre-event meeting, it really depends on what type of event you are leading as a referee. Is it a junior Grand Prix, a Grand Prix, a championship, a challenger, or an international? Each of these competitions have their unique and very different timelines and opportunities. So, as referees, as I'm sure you've already heard from your previous seminars in the other organizational meetings you've had at this seminar, you must be very organized. So before you even leave home, it's important that you understand how much time you will have, connect with the local organizing committee if possible, and your other referees if possible. If it is not possible, upon arrival at your competition, try to determine who am I working with, how much time do I have, and how are we going to divide our duties for the initial judges meeting. For junior Grand Prix and Grand Prix, so much of the organization is already done for you. It's a blessing. You'll arrive, the room is set up primarily. Typically, you'll have a computer set up for you. You may even have the flash drive provided for you with different PowerPoints or a PowerPoint that you may use. The ISU is very helpful with someone on site that if you have a problem for your presentation, they can help you work through it. If you're at a challenger or an international competition, you may be doing your presentation on a laptop in a room where you just rotate your laptop around and show it to those nearby, your panel. It's very important that you bring whatever equipment you need. Some of you have Macs, some of you have PCs, some of you are very clever and you have your own little portable speakers to help with sound. Any of that you can bring with you is great. Why? It's not unusual to arrive at a competition and make the assumption that your computer will work with their equipment. Sometimes it does not. At that time, you may need to borrow a laptop to hook up to an overhead, for example. Or you may say, gee, I'm just going to have to work off of my laptop, rotate it, and work within the room that I have. Another preparation that's really important is have a flash drive ready. If you bring a flash drive with you to the competition, then you can transfer a PowerPoint to it from the ISU, or better yet, bring your program, your PowerPoint presentation for components on a flash drive. Then you can use another computer very easily. The main message and summary is be ready, be prepared for any obstacle you might encounter in order to provide your presentation. When you arrive and you connect with the local organizing committee, set aside a time before the initial judges meeting to sort this out. Don't wait until let's say your initial judges meeting is from 6 to 8. It's a very common time at competitions, Grand Prix, Junior Grand Prix, and even championships, to have a 2-hour allotment for an initial judges meeting. At that time, if you arrive just 5 minutes before, You don't have time to sort out to make sure that your presentation is coordinated with the other person you're working with or with the equipment at hand. So, very important. The initial judges meeting, if it is a 2-hour, you may have anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour to do a program components summary. Sometimes, especially at the beginning of the season, there are so many technical updates that the referee for singles and pairs, for example, might lead off. It's very possible that they may take an hour and 15 minutes, and then they move on to, for example, ice dance, synchro. I'm not sure how they run your initial judges meeting, but there may be some variables there as well in reviewing technical material and then going on to program components. Whatever time you have left is whatever time you have left. So you will have to be a person that can adjust. Yes, you plan ahead for how much time you think you will have, but also be ready that you may have to condense and do a smaller version of what you thought you were doing. It's okay, because we as referees, our primary task is to bring clarity and confidence to our panels. Clarity of the material, technical and components, and confidence to our panel. Overwhelming them with too much last-minute information when they arrive at a competition can sometimes deflate their confidence. And we want our panels to be ready to serve and to feel confident in their knowledge. And hopefully, the expectation, of course, is that they have studied and prepared before they've arrived at the competition. And now you are tapering the information in their brain and bringing it very clear with a summary and reminder so that off they go to the stand and feel very good about their job. It's very important. Your panel knows that you have extensive knowledge. They know that already because that's why you were chosen to be the referee. Your job as a referee, as I say, is to give clarity and summary. It's not to show them how much you know. It's not about you. It's about the panel. You are there to lead with clarity, sticking to the criteria. Reinforce basic reminders. Speak slowly and clearly. Try to use simple words. Be concise. Do not overwhelm them, but instead give them confidence to do their job. The initial judges meeting at a junior Grand Prix and a championship event and a senior Grand Prix are long. But when you get to a challenger or an international competition, you may only have 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Many times, members of your panel are running from one event to the next, and they only have time to pick up their papers and off they go. We do the best we can with the time we have. But remember, for each of these levels of competition, you have different levels of experience. Some of these judges, it might be their first international they've ever had, they've ever judged, and they may be very nervous. It's likely they've never met you before. There may be a language barrier. They may be very nervous. Try to connect with your first-time officials and tell them, I'm there for you. If you have questions, feel free to come to me. Maybe say to them, is there a time you want to come and meet with me to go over any questions you may have? And if you do this one-on-one, they may appreciate the opportunity because it can be intimidating to ask questions as a first-time judge in front of their peers or others. On the other side, for a Grand Prix or a championship, you have very experienced judges there. And the tone and tenor of your pre-event meeting will be very different. You may just give some reminders, but you might also be generating some interesting discussion. Those events are a wonderful opportunity for you to perhaps come up with an idea of how to incorporate your program components into a roundtable discussion. So at that point in your pre-event meeting, you may offer the suggestion that you would like to discuss perhaps the best or the weakest skating skills of the event, and for your judges to keep that in mind for just a general program component discussion of what is good, what is excellent, did we have any outstanding skating skills, and why? So it's just one idea of a way to incorporate program components with a very experienced panel for discussion. Of course, that can be used in a smaller competition as well, but typically you wouldn't have time. So again, reading your panel. Who are they? How experienced are they? Do we have any language barriers? Temper and taper, how you speak to them, how many details you go into based on time and experience of your panel. For the roundtable discussion, we often get into just GOE comparisons and don't allow time for components. But do try to make sure when you receive your feedback protocols, your protocols at the end of the event, you get them immediately. Yes, you will look at your differences for GOE. And the ISU has a wonderful box in the report that asks you to name any GOE differences that might be interested for seminar discussion. But you can also offer suggestions of any program component differences that would be good to isolate for future discussion in seminars as well. They love those suggestions from you. If you have in the roundtable discussion programs where there are differences of opinion, or even better, where perhaps there was an exceptionally weak component or an exceptionally strong component by any one performance, that is an ideal discussion to bring forward into your roundtable discussion. Try to ask everyone to speak of it. Some are more comfortable than others, but if you open it as a learning discussion, hopefully you will be able to engage each of your judges, and they will come away feeling enlightened, enthusiastic, and more confident as they go on to their next competition. Our leadership as referees is key in how we lead our panel in a positive way, and hopefully we will all do the best we can so that everyone from competition to competition, we all become better judges and better referees. We can learn from each other. So now I'm going to go through a PowerPoint. I will not go through the entire referee PowerPoint that this is last year's PowerPoint, but I'm going to hit on some highlights and give you just an overview of each one, beginning with the overview PowerPoint, the first one that is available to you. So this is the first slide, and it is an overall of what the components are. We're very familiar. You've been staring at it now for almost 30 minutes, so I'm sure you all have it memorized. Okay. It's very important that you remember how we arrive what our process is at arriving for a program component mark, and we evaluate each criteria independently. A common mistake is that we have one criteria that stands out for us, and we tend to focus on it and give it more weight than the others. It's so important to remember that each one is weighted equally. And in our minds, we have kept in mind all the criteria, and then we come to our conclusion. As we are here in Frankfurt at the Global Seminar, as you're aware, we are updating all of our charts, and there will be an updated program components chart that will be injected into this PowerPoint. The PowerPoint that I'm referring here is still under amendment, and as we just arrived, our group will be working in the next 2 days to update this PowerPoint, and this chart will be updated, be part of the updation. It's very important as we look at our program component chart that we have noted that 10 cannot be awarded with a program with a fall. And the chart, let me go back. The chart refers also to serious errors, and the serious errors are different for singles and pairs. Again, we will have an updated chart that we can refer to and will be brought forth here. But the question has come up, what are serious errors? And it's important to note, we've given you some bullets here as reference, but it has come up in past meetings that a serious error question is, well, is a -4 or a -5 in a GOE element a serious error? And the answer is no, not necessarily. A serious error is something as serious, equivalent to a fall, as disruptive as a fall. It could be an interruption that is more than just a second or two, but something that is truly disrupting the program. And the others are listed here in front of you. Sometimes combined small mistakes performed one after another could be a serious error if we have 3 or 4 mishaps all together, and now we have 5 to 10 seconds of disruption. So you all have your benchmark or your line in your mind of how you feel a serious error is. And that is why we have 9 judges on a judging panel, is to sort these out. But the word serious in itself is an indicator of what a disruption is that would be equivalent. So you could have a fall and a serious error. Those two things then, the chart you would refer to on the further reductions for components. A common question that comes up when we have serious errors and or falls, what do we do with the components? In the roundtable discussions, when we have had these incidents happen, it's been a great discussion to have that the referee will lead. And it's an important discussion to have because the judges usually have differences, perhaps differences of how they applied their reflection in the components for the disruption. And of course, no two situations are identical. Sometimes we can have a fall with a very quick recovery. It can be down up. And sometimes after the fall, the skating skills are maintained. Some even are energized and try to do even better after a fall. Other skaters, after a fall, their skating skills, for example, may diminish. They may start to become very careful, tentative, pull back, and skate at a different quality than before the fall or interruption. In those two cases, the reflection of your mark for skating skills would be different. The same can be said for transitions. You could have a fall, get right back up, maybe miss a step or two, and completely pick up your transitions and continue on with your program. Others may have a 10 seconds where they get up, they brush themselves off, they check their outfit to make sure it's still okay, they brush the snow off their knees, they look around, they start skating, pushing off of toe picks, go to the other end of the rink, and then say, I think I'll keep going. That is a completely different impact on your transition score, as I'm sure you would imagine. You go into performance. Performance. They have an interruption. They're no longer involved in their program. They're only involved in assessing if they're hurt. Are they injured? Are they going to continue? Are they going to go to the referee? Or they might be thinking, oh, what is the rule? Let's see, am I supposed to go to the referee? Am I supposed to wait until they blow a whistle? Do I go to my coach? All this thought process, if this is happening, they have disengaged from the performance. It's up to you to determine when do they re-engage into the performance and when are they intellectually, emotionally involved again in the performance. The same can be said for composition and, of course, the same thought process for interpretation and timing. So no two situations are the same. The referee will give as much guidance as they can. For me, discussing interruptions in an initial judges meeting is one of the most helpful and important jobs a referee can do. If you're short of time, it's important to cover interruptions and what to do. You may only have time to cover skating skills and interruptions, or you might only have time to cover maybe interpretation and interruptions. But please, it's important to cover the interruptions. We're going to look at a program now, and this program had several falls and interruptions. It's a good one to show for discussion in an initial judges meeting. This will be in your PowerPoint.
It was a million miles an hour, and in the end paid for it.
And he is one of the fastest Twizzlers that there is. Good camera shot to see them going into the diagonal step sequence from one corner right across the diagonal to the next end of the rink. Good strong edge, oh no!
Probably still thinking about what happened earlier on.
Whoa. Come on, Charlie. Concentrate. Dear.
Well, good that he could.
Okay. So here's a great example of skaters that maybe you are an experienced judge and you have judged these skaters before. Maybe you have. If you're an experienced judge, you might be thinking, I know what they're capable of. This was a shockingly difficult program to watch. How do I reflect it? It takes some time. You will have your program component reminders on your video screen. And your judges will have them also. And hopefully, having had your direction and a little bit of help from you prior to going out to judge, if they are faced with something so shocking and unexpected as this program, they will have the presence of mind to organize how to reflect them and in what components the most. Interestingly enough, the falls and disruptions all happened during elements. And in this particular performance, the transitions were the least affected because the transitions do connect the elements and the transitions were intact. Now maybe they weren't skated to the quality of degree of excellence, however the variety and the criteria for much of the transitions were intact. So you look at where do you reflect it? Certainly in skating skills and certainly in performance. They checked out of the performance, but all of the components were affected to some degree. So, and of course, with 3 falls, scores in the 9s are not possible. Sometimes your judges are bringing with them to a competition the knowledge of the quality of the skaters from past performances. They bring that knowledge with them. It's very important to remind them that even the best, most incredible skaters, as these skaters are, can have a bad day. And when they have a bad day, they cannot receive the same scores as when they have the best day of their lives. It confuses everyone. It confuses other members of your panel. It confuses the athletes, the coaches, the public, the ISU, everyone. So we do a disservice, and we have to remind our panel of this. So I am going to now move on to the next PowerPoint. So I will be exiting out of this one and changing my PowerPoint.